here, and we're gonna be doing the custom fuse and relay panel on Luke's car. This is gonna be kind of like an upgrade to the first one I did. So the first one I did, I had a switch panel, but we're gonna be using the ignition barrel in the car. Today, the main goal is just to make the fuse and relay panel. We're gonna try to make it as clean as we can, and I'll just record the step-by-step. First thing we're gonna have is a fuse strip, fuse block, whatever you wanna call it. This is 12 fuse positions, 6 on each side. Each terminal is rated for 30 amps. These are negatives, so it's a common negative. All the negatives go in here, and then they go here, and then you put it to a negative, which is a ground in your car. Positive here, rated for 125 amps. Really, I would just call it 100. This is from Blue Sea Systems. I'll have links in the description for all this stuff. It comes with the cover, pretty cool. 4 mounting points. We have 2 of those. I'm not gonna be using 24 fuses, but it's better to have more than less. This is also from Blue Sea. This is a secondary fuse strip, and we're gonna use this to control the ECU through one relay. So the ECU needs multiple powers with different amps. This comes with a 15 amp fuse, which is pretty cool. Just use that or not. 30 amps each, 100 amps here, 4 slots, 2 mounting points with the cover. Pretty neat. This is what I have in my S14 currently for the ECU secondary fuse strip. This came in a pack. This is basically just like a fuse or power distribution strip. Again, rated for 30 amps. This has 12 slots on each side. This is how we'll have power going in for the relays, power going out for the loads. Not what we're gonna use. This is a broken one, but we have a fresh bag of new ones. This is heat shrink. So these are basically male and female quick disconnects and just some random relays we have laying around from the first build. We're using 4 40 amp relays and 1 80 amp relay because this is gonna power and control the entire secondary fuse strip. And that's really all you need. We're using the ignition barrel. It's gonna be a key on fuse and relay panel, so you don't need the fancy switches and stuff, all the extra wiring. It'll be run off of the ignition barrel by itself. These are 2 distribution blocks, our 5 relays. This ECU relay is going to go to this secondary fuse strip. This is going to be kind of like our powers in to power and ground. We'll just really power the relays. It's confusing now. Once it's wired up and I have the wires on here, I can explain it much better. But this is the layout we're going to go with. Nice and compact. It's gonna rely, the neatness is gonna rely on basically how good we route the wires and how neat we route the wires. I was just moving pieces around, trying to find a design. Obviously this is not the design I drew up at first, it never is, but this is what we're gonna use. So we're gonna mark everything now, all these holes, all the mounting points. I don't know if I have hardware, but if we do, we'll mount everything up and then we can start putting the wires in, and it'll make much more sense once the wires are on. Hardware for the relays right here. But I don't have hardware for this, which is 4 screws, 4 screws, 2 screws, and the secondary right here, 2 more screws. These work, we only have 4 though. So we're gonna go get hardware, come back, mark everything, and then mount it down. I want to take a break from the time lapse to show you how this is going. I'm opening up a hole that I drilled with a small bit, and I'm just mounting the relays right now. Then we have these 2 things to mount, and I'll be done, and we can start doing the wiring. We have to shave the back side of the screws. You can see they're sticking out. Once I have the wiring on, I'll obviously explain to you guys how the routing works so you can understand it and you're not just kind of replicating and copying and not getting and understanding why things work and why they are the way they are. So I'm gonna finish this up. Just want to take a break from the time lapse, show you guys what I'm doing kind of up close so you can see. But let's finish. Here's a fuse and relay panel. This is what it's gonna look like. And it'll be in this orientation. I kinda wanna mount it vertically like that, but that's kind of the finished product. Now we're gonna put all the wires on. I'll time lapse that, and when the wires are on, I can explain how everything works, because how it is right now, it's kind of confusing to understand what's really happening. Because this is more of an advanced setup, I want to explain the wiring before it gets too complicated and it's hard to really trace and understand what's happening. These are single pole, single throw relays or 4-pin relays. So you have a power and a ground into the relay to power the coil. That coil creates a magnetic field to pull the switch closed. And then you have power going in and then power going out. Like I said, these are rated for 40 amps. Basically, you see these two are on our distribution block. You just get 2 powers. So this will be going to our ignition barrel. I'm gonna explain that in 2 seconds as soon as I'm done explaining this. But you're gonna have power going into here. There's 2 because one is gonna be for when the key is in on and start, and the other is gonna be for when the key is in accessories and on. So there's 2 relays that are powered when the key is in accessories and on, and there's 3 relays powered when the key is in on and start. So we have our charge light, which is kind of a complicated circuit, but that's gonna be on and start. Fuel pump is on and start. ECU is obviously on and start. And then our gauges are accessories and on, and our radio are accessories and on. So if you ever realize when you start a car, the gauges cut power, radio cuts power, certain things lose power as it's cranking, and they come back on once it's done and it's running. Power goes into here, and this I believe is called a series circuit. So how I have this routed is the power goes into here and also comes out and loops into this one, and then on this side, power comes in and it loops and it loops. So basically you're powering 3 relays with 1 wire, and it just kind of is going like that. I believe it's called a series circuit. Right here, the ground is doing the same thing, loop, loop, and then ground, and then here it's loop and then ground. So that's the power and ground to close the coils on the relays. You can see here I started with the fuse distribution block, so there's 4 here. These will have fuses, I don't have them right now on me, but basically this is power going out, and on here you have a battery connects here, and the power goes here and distributes like this through the fuses and out to these little screws. So power goes out, there would be a fuse there, and it goes to the relay. And then when you turn the switch on the ignition barrel and this powers the coil in the relay, it closes it, power will come out from here, and it's gonna go to here, and then from here it's gonna go to our load. Okay, that's my explanation of what I have done so far. It's getting a little bit complicated, so I want to explain it real quick before there's too many wires, because once I start putting these in here, it's just gonna be a whole wiring mess, and it'll be hard to understand what's happening. All right, we're sitting in Luke's car, and I want to explain the ignition barrel, how I'm gonna power the entire car without any switches. My S14, you guys know I have my switch panel that powers the entire car, controls the whole car, main power, fuel, ECU, all the different switches you can press to turn different things on to start the car up. With Luke's car, the fancy thing that we're doing is we're not using any switches. So he's gonna sit in the car, key on, and the car's gonna start like OEM. I'm gonna explain to you how I'm gonna do that. All my switches do are activate the relays and close the relays. The ignition barrel is basically a giant switch, and you use your key to basically close that switch. So by closing the switches on the ignition barrel, those are going to activate the relays that we need to activate, and we're basically copying the OEM wiring of the car. Let me show you how to test the ignition barrel, figure out what wires you need to power. I'm going to kind of explain how we're going to do this. You'll see later on in the series, but right now I just want to get the idea planted into your head so you understand the coolness of this. Right here, you can see the soldered points on the ignition barrel, and this is just simply where your key goes in. On my multimeter, I have a continuity mode, which basically beeps when these 2 leads touch. It's this right here. So this is the ignition barrel where your key goes. I'm gonna put the key in, and while the key is in this position, nothing should be active. Nothing. Nope. No. 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 So now we're going to turn it to accessories, and you can hear the click. That's the first turn. So in this position, we're going to see which wires are active. Nothing. Nothing. Okay, so the blue wire is hot and accessories on. And now we're going to turn it to the on position, which is the second key switch. And now we're going to see which wires are active.
Nothing. Okay, so the red wire is hot and the key on. The blue wire is hot still and the key on. Black and white wire is hot, key on.
And then last but not least, we're going to hold this down and start and see which wires beep and which don't.
Okay, black and green is hot and key start. Black and yellow is hot and key start. So now we know our sequence. This is what we have so far. Now, the reason I didn't do these top parts and run them here is because first off, I want to get these black zip ties and tie these together and make this really neat. And if I put these on, it's going to be a pain. Pulling these out, the spades, not easy at all. Also, I have a big wire for the ECU relay that's going to go right there. And I don't want to cover this up too much to the point where I can't reach in there. It's already hard to get my fingers in there and push in the spade connectors. So that's why I just kind of called it there. I'm going to put the covers on so you guys can see what it looks like, but this is the finished product. It's pretty neat. Different design than what I initially planned, but I like it. I'm digging it. Boom. This is what it's going to look like in car when it's covered up. With these covers on, you'll be able to still see the fuses, what you have in there, the size, the amps, all that good stuff. And these just pop off. Boom, boom, take these off. This has a clip on this side. Pop it, take it off. And this one's a little annoying, but you can just pry it up. As always, if there's a single thing you guys didn't understand, any questions, concerns, like anything you want to ask me, leave it in the comments or DM me on Instagram. I'll put my Instagram on the screen. If you enjoyed it and learned a little bit, if you're excited for this series, go ahead and leave a like. If you're not sub below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, and thanks for watching.